Today I really wanted to dive into the idea of celebrating small wins on the path to big goals. So if you're anything like me and you're working towards something, I'm pretty sure that we'll all walk away with a couple of invaluable takeaways that we can all apply to whatever it is that we have going on, whatever it is that we're working towards. Let's take this apart. Let's break it down to the bare bones. So, small wins. Everybody talks about it. It is obvious, I think. And while on one hand, that's true, the application and the personal management that goes into successfully applying that as a practice, well, that's where it can be a little bit dicey. But just like the topic in its whole, let's not be overwhelmed with it in its entirety. Let's break it down into manageable pieces and have ourselves a good look. Recognizing we're focusing on the small gains, it isn't just a trendy idea that's nice to repeat. It's crucial and an invaluable tool to drive you towards being able to achieve the larger goal, the transformative goal. It is those individual pieces of the process that are what is transformative. They are what transition you from who you are today, from what you're doing today, into who you become and what you are doing then at that later time. Recognizing each small step helps you to build momentum, and it certainly lends to ongoing motivation, without which, how do you do anything? By making a practice of it, you can transform the long, overwhelming journey into achievable, rewarding steps and keep you motivated and pushing ahead. Today, I want to do my best to inspire us all to focus on this a little bit more than we might forget to. The small wins, it's just more than patting yourself on the back. It's just giving yourself an opportunity to assess yourself and to feel gratified in the progress you're making. If you're running a long race or you're climbing a mountain, you can't look at the entire race in its entirety without feeling a sense of dread. But if you break it into pieces, you tick each one off as you get there. Little by little, you making yourself progress. It's just really dividing your task into bits, but on a much grander scale. I normally lean into my efforts as an independent recording artist as an example. Today I'm going to flip the script and talk about Aikido. A friend of mine, he was excited to introduce me to his Aikido class. And prior to this, I hadn't had any direct experience with any kind of a martial art. But growing up in the era that I did, where you're looking up at all the action stars who flip people over and blast them through a wall, it was sort of like every kid's fantasy to become that. So I was more than interested to follow my friend to the class. When I did, it was pretty exciting. You know, I'm in a foreign country, way over in the Far East, and having this chance to join a martial arts class, and the whole thing just led to this real adventure that I was living on a day-to-day basis. My friend was really pushing me, and everybody there was friendly and wanted me to join, but I was so busy at that moment that I told him that I couldn't. And the reason why I declined was I knew that I would commit for the duration. So I didn't want to start then, when I knew I had so many external things going on that I needed to navigate during the first year here. A year later, I'd adapted. My schedule was balanced and I'd sorted out how to maintain it. And I found my friend, asked him if he would take me back down there, and I joined. And then I put in some long years and went from white belt to black belt, one step at a time. As I joined, I did overtly know that the biggest takeaway for me wasn't getting a black belt to be a great fighter, something like this. It wasn't that. It was just doing it to teach my brain how to do something massive and how to break it into pieces. And I knew that if I stuck with it, that would be the tool that I would get out of it. That's why I did it. Now, when I'm doing things that are massive undertakings, like in my music, I'm attempting to build a brand around perseverance while I'm building a 100-song catalog, while I'm refining technical music skills and music production skills, and while I wrestle with social media algorithms and have to learn through the process of building a little bit of name recognition from nothing, and work through the process of growing on YouTube and the other platforms that I want to use to share what I'm creating. I did the Aikido. I immediately correlated the learning opportunity that I was going to get from the systematic structure and the step-by-step hierarchy that comes with practice in martial arts. With each new technique you master, you celebrate that success with every belt level, you celebrate everything that you learned inside that level by being rewarded the acknowledgement of having mastered that level. So it's a huge mental training tool specifically for this. But I am only human. My struggles lie in pulling it all together. And that doesn't mean I'm not aware of what I need to do. Because I am. But it is why I'm here lending to you while you're here lending to me in a way of holding me to account, shooting my mouth off the way that I'm doing now. But how about you? How do you recognize your incremental successes? And what does doing so provide to you? I'm sure you have a huge list of small wins that you've experienced on your path. It's kind of like dominoes. You set those dominoes out on the table and you tip that first one over and it lends to the next one falling. And when you're recognizing it like that, it certainly creates a positive energy. You can even think about what you're doing as a long journey to a far off destination that you're taking by car. To make the metaphor sink home, imagine having to stop occasionally for refuel and refreshments. I have to focus on small successes. For my music, I have to focus on small successes because otherwise I would be consumed with how overwhelming it is to pull myself out of obscurity. Getting a few hundred views on a new song is what I have to celebrate. If I measure that by the totality of a, so to speak, end goal, then I could be devastated. But what good does that devastation do? Instead, I have to break apart the entire effort into increments. So that way I can be hopeful. So that way a few hundred views on a song can be positive. Because it should be positive. Because I am in obscurity. And in order to dig my way out of that, I first have to figure out how to master the white belt before I deserve a yellow belt. Because believe me, figuring out how to master that white belt and earning that yellow belt is exactly what I'm going to do. And you can be sure that at that moment where I can recognize that I have done just that, I will be celebrating that victory. I think this sort of comes down to choosing your mindset. So you're either going to have a happiness mindset or a gratitude mindset, or you're going to have something else. Because there's people doing what I would like to do. If I focused on how far away I am from those out at the tip of the spear, I would be consumed with my own idea of feeling inadequate. They say comparison is a thief of joy. And our milestones on any given task are usually ones that we've borrowed from other people who have trailblazed the path ahead of us. These people have already established what the milestones look like. So then we assess ourselves where we are in that progression. Somebody who's way out at the tip of the spear, well known, is in a very, very different position than obscurity, a very different position than the starting point. So while that is a success, so making it to that level, of course, would be a wonderful achievement. But part of the reason why people overlook the small wins is it's exactly because they're focused on the end goal outcome. You know, when you're doing something and you lock into doing it and you're focused on celebrating the progress instead of the outcome, you are going to be operating from happiness, from gratitude, as opposed to being disgruntled. So celebrate the progress. When you celebrate the progress, you're celebrating the process. And I get that you might just need money. The end outcome might be just the money. And if that's the case, then I get why this might not resonate for you. But if you want to do something, that's important to you, you can't let yourself become robbed of the joy because of how overwhelming it might be for you to measure up to other people who've done something or doing something in a manner that you're not yet positioned to be doing. So by focusing on the progress and by focusing on the process, you're freeing yourself of that while you're working to better position yourself in that trajectory. So before I go, I want to remind you to do your best. Keep yourself motivated. Keep yourself on task. Don't look at other people that are already doing what you want unless it's just inspiring you. If it's making you feel down, just go get to the grind of doing. Keep your head up. I'll keep my head up. We'll keep each other held to account. We'll talk again soon.